Hey, what is up, guys? As you guys know, the draft is coming up. It's days away. You can almost count down the hours. And in order to talk about the draft at the level that it needs to, I'm going to bring in one of the premier experts here on the platform on YouTube. His name's Voch Lombardi. Go on his Twitter at Voch Lombardi. Also follow him or subscribe to him on YouTube. He has very, very good and in-depth breakdowns of all types of players. Let me bring in Voch right here. Voch, how you doing?
What's happening? Doski Woski. Shouts out to you. Shouts out to Browns fans. Shouts out to Browns Reddit. They show a lot of love over there. Salute.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And speaking of Browns Reddit, we're going to jump into kind of the Browns draft here. And just a quick little kind of conversation about what the Browns roster has, what they don't. I know a lot of people talk about the strengths of the Browns roster right now. You know, they have the tight end. They just signed Austin Hooper, added that in there with the wide receiving core of Odell and Jarvis there with obviously Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield and Baker Mayfield, whatever he can put out there. It seems like he has a lot of pieces, but offensive line has been a weakness for the last 2 years there. And then obviously on the defensive side of the ball, you know, if you look at the numbers from last year, just not performing there, especially when they don't have Myles Garrett out there, which not having a Myles Garrett on the field, I would assume is going to affect the level of play on the defense. But it was a kind of a disturbing amount that the defense dropped. What are your kind of thoughts just breathing over what the Browns roster has?
Pushing Freddie Kitchens off the bridge probably won y'all 7 games already.
Wow.
Just off the rip, off the stretch. I got coaching history, you know what I mean? So when I watch some of the moves, I don't see preparedness. I don't see adjustments. I don't see game plans. I don't see mismatches. I'm like, why are you not putting Beckham in the slot more? Like do that. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think just by cutting that weight, the entire team kind of grows a little bit, just goes up 3 or 4 paces. The roster ain't terrible. Mm-hmm. Like I'm looking down the road, like y'all kind of overpaid some people, but that's kind of what you got to do to put yourself over the edge. You know what I mean? So, but for the most part, the team ain't bad. You know, you fill in some depth spots here, get an O-line going there. Linebackers, maybe you want to probably take a look at that at some point, I would say. But the team ain't terrible. You know, it ain't bad.
Yeah, and just looking at the roster there, what do you think are some of the draft needs that the Browns are going to have to jump into this with the 10th pick and then with everything else in the draft?
I believe in overkill. Just because you draft something one time doesn't mean you shouldn't draft it again. So y'all should probably go O-line like 2 or 3 times over the course of the draft. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, why would you sell yourself short on a unit that's like right up under half of your entire offense? You know what I mean? So yeah, 5 offensive linemen. Just because you got a good right tackle don't mean you don't need to address left guard. That's a whole different spot, you know? So you may need to double up there. Like I said, linebacker earlier, I don't know how the hell you get Ward and Williams on the same team at the same time. I don't know how you pull that off. But you may want to look at safety at some point, you know, just if you want to clean that up. Plus Olivier Vernon making a little bit too much money for my taste. I just kind of touched on his contract a little bit earlier. I'm no Browns expert, but just outside looking in, you might want to get you an edge guy just in case you need to push him off the bridge to save a little bit of bread.
Definitely Olivier Vernon with that $15 million. They can get that $15 million back on salary. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. Maybe they're trying to see what shakes with Clowney there. But you mentioned offensive linemen there. One of the reasons I want to bring you on is just first thing I noticed while I was watching your videos is just I don't think there's anybody on YouTube or not a lot of people who do these kind of draft breakdowns that are able to break down the offensive lineman tape and be able to explain it to, you know, a simpleton like me to be able to understand what's going on and why this is important. I've never seen somebody, make sure you go subscribe to him on Voch Lombardi, search him on YouTube. He's dope. But I've never seen somebody break down offensive lineman tape and it be entertaining. Sure. And I think you're one of the most in the best kind of offensive lineman breakdown guys. So I'm really interested what your opinion is about the linemen in this draft. Seems like a lot of people have strong opinions about the linemen. There's a lot of good ones. What do you think?
If you need an offensive lineman, this is the draft to go get them. There aren't many good offensive linemen in this league. You know, you can see some of the best teams in the league kind of patchwork their line together, and they hide players because offensive linemen aren't great. I remember in the Nelson draft, they're like, well, should we draft a guard this high? I'm like, fam, you get that dude, you get him right now, and it's not going to be sexy. It ain't going to be cute. Drafting offensive line is never sexy, it's never cute. I'm a Cowboys fan. I hate it. I ain't doing it. But when you do it, Cowboys ain't drafted a left tackle in years. You know what I mean? We ain't going to draft the right guard in another 6 or 7 or so. You know what I mean? We had a center for a smooth 8, and if he wasn't sick, he probably would have lasted another whatever. It ain't gonna be cute, but get your offensive line now. I kind of find myself screaming at Browns fans sometimes because they're entertaining the notion of, hey, let's not get a tackle and get one of those top D linemen up there. You know, let's but don't get cute, because. And I'm saying this from a place of love and respect. So I ain't hating on Browns fans right now. But even y'all know this. Sometimes the Browns get too cute. Sometimes you say, oh, I could get a top tier player, but I'm going to trade back, get some more picks. They end up getting real peppers or something. You know what I mean? Stop going away from these good players to get cute. You know? Get the best guy that's there. And even though you did the whole Conklin thing, that's fine. Salute. But you got 4 other offensive. Well, I would say you need 3 more, in my opinion. And in my opinion, when it comes to tackles and drafting, tackles run out earlier. And there's no such thing as Voch. Is there some developmental tackle that you like in the late rounds? Hell nah. Because if they don't have certain traits, they just don't make it in the league. You know how many tackles that's not in the league that don't have good feet, that don't have good hands? So don't tell me, hey, Voch, what if this tackle that got bad hands in the 5th round, you think we could teach him hands and he can come in and be good? No. A lot of people don't make it because their hands ain't good. So just get the premium player tackle. Get the premium tackle because they're going to run out and they're going to run out quick. Josh Jones is probably like the last one you can get hands on. Y'all drafting at 10. You know? So don't just say, let's wait till the 2nd round to see about Austin Jackson. He's terrible, in my opinion. I don't like him very much. But get one of these guys that I do like, and we can get into the player breakdown however you drive it.
Yeah. So I think there's a pretty much consensus opinion out there. I think that Jedrick Wills is probably the best offensive tackle in this draft. Do you kind of agree with that? Do you think he is kind of the cream of the crop of this draft? I
do agree, but there are some maniac serial killers that don't believe that. There are some bottom feeders out there that think Wirfs is the best tackle on the board, and I'm not subscribing to that at all. He's probably the best guard. If you look back at Cam Robinson from the Jaguars, played Alabama, he first came out, I was like, yeah, man, put that dude at guard. But it was like, but Voch, he can play tackle. Yes, he can play tackle, but he can also play free safety. He can play linebacker. He can play head coach. But what's the best thing? What's the best for him? Right? So there are some people that say, hey, Tristan Wirfs is the most athletic. He's the build and all that. Is he the best tackle? Nah, absolutely not. He's the best guard, and he's like my 5th tackle. If you want a can't miss tackle, in my opinion, Jedrick Wills is one of those guys. The big problem with the Browns is that y'all drafting at 10. So 2 of them guys might be off the board by then, you know? So Jedrick Wills is the best in my opinion. He's the most well-rounded, but he excels in pass rushing. He is a pass blocking. He's a pass blocking black belt. Okay. But Andrew Thomas, I think, is not that far from him, though. Andrew Thomas from Georgia. He's not that far from him. I wouldn't say that it's like hairline, you know what I'm saying, kind of far away, but I'm saying it's like a good little bit. They're relatively close, but Wills is just that much better than him. But Thomas is better in the run blocking game than him. So if you can stumble across Thomas, I would get Thomas too. I'm talking to the Browns now. If you can get Thomas, don't be upset because Wills ain't there. Thomas is just as top tier as Wills. Just that Thomas does things a little bit different. And, you know, the more you go down the list, the more you come away from guys. But if it ain't Wills, Thomas, Becton, Wirfs, or Josh Jones, I'm pretty upset that I got to get one of those tackles that ain't those 5.
So that's like kind of your packet of like premium tackles that you should be happy if you're able to walk away with them in the top 10.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking of that, you touched on something interesting there, because I think when people talk about offensive linemen, we don't talk about them the same way we talk about other position groups, specifically skill position groups. When we talk about fit, when it comes to what they're good at and what they're not inside of an offense, we kind of hear good offensive tackle. Oh, any team should be able to draft them no matter what system they do. He should be able to run it. But I think I would believe that offensive line plays a little bit more complex than that. Some people do have strengths in certain systems. And with that being said, are there certain linemen that you worry about in certain systems, or certain linemen that you would want to? Like, to me, from what I've seen, it seems like a guy like Mekhi Becton, I don't know what kind of system he would fit best in, but he seems like a guy who would fit best in kind of a run heavy kind of zone run scheme.
Luckily for the people that need tackles in this draft, the top 4 guys kind of fit everything. Luckily, they all got good feet. They all have relatively good power, depending on who you're looking at. They all can run power stuff because they're powerful enough to move people. They can run outside, inside zone kind of stuff because their feet translate well to that. It's just when you get to like tackle number 5 and 6, when it kind of gets a little bit weird. I wouldn't ask Josh Jones to power block anybody. I wouldn't ask Austin Jackson and Ezra. What's this Ezra Cleveland mess that's going on? Is that real?
I think it's pretty much like it's one of those rumors they float out there to make it seem like they're comfortable to falling back, to put pressure on what the Oakland Raiders and San Francisco 49ers might want to trade up to 10 to get their wide receiver, and the Browns could switch spots with them. They're maybe trying to put pressure on them by saying they're comfortable falling back behind them. I don't think it's real. I don't think they would take that chance. The way they've been structuring this offseason, they seem to have a sense of urgency that this is the year they need to be good. And I don't think they're going to take a chance on missing one of these guys if they can see it possible. But I don't know. This is the analytics front office. They could do something silly. I'm hoping they haven't done anything goofy like that in the offseason and free agency so far. So hopefully that's not what they're going for, because I wouldn't be happy if they did that.
There should be a riot in the streets. And don't get me wrong, just because I don't like a player doesn't mean that they can't play. Because new football has found a way to make guys, I would say, live and exist. You can be a tackle that isn't very, very great. Like Colton Miller, for example. Colton Miller with the Raiders, and I'm currently fussing with them. They're screaming at me and say, hey, Voch, Colton Miller ain't that bad. Sure, he's not that bad. If you get rid of the ball quick, he's not that bad. If you run away from him, he's not that bad. If the DN on that side is whooping him, you say, okay, we just got to do something to deal with that dude. So we end up reading him. So he got to go block linebackers for the rest of the game. Sure, he ain't that bad. But we're talking about him versus the top tier guys. Like, Jedrick Wills is one of those guys. When you go up, when you have a top tier pass rush on the other side, you go, okay, we good over there. Good over there. One less game plan for us to worry about. Thomas, one less game plan for us to worry about. That's just how I feel about that. So just because I'm a little negative on Cleveland because he got a mom, he probably got kids and a girlfriend. I don't want to say anything terrible about him. But just because I'm saying these things doesn't mean that he's terrible and he can't play. It's just that I'm comparing him to these dogs at the top of the list, and it just doesn't add up. So we left off on Thomas or whatever. So moving on from Thomas, Tristan Wirfs from Iowa. I think he's the guard number 1 in his class, best guard in his class, but he's the 5th best tackle. He's after Josh Jones in terms of can he play tackle. You were talking about fits earlier or whatever.
Yes.
And there is film that exists of Tristan Wirfs. I don't know the right tackle island existing out there, and you see these quick twitchy guys. They're kind of smoking them a little bit. You see those gap exchanges. They're kind of like smoking them a little bit because tackle and guard aren't necessarily one's not more difficult to play than the other. It depends on the actual player. Some people think that it's easier to play guard than it is tackles. Some tackles are happy that they get to play tackle and they ain't got to go on the inside and deal with them gangsters in there. So if you're a tackle, you're responsible from C gap to the sideline. That's the entire C gap from your right foot to the sideline. If you're a guard, things happen more quicker on the inside. So gap exchanges is less space being exchanged and these big strong dudes get on you quicker. So you got to be able to anchor a little better. Tackle, you probably got to be able to move a little better, right? Because there's more room to navigate out there. So Tristan Wirfs, his brain and his feet don't connect. And that's the real life thing. And he could probably jump rope to fix that. But when he sees things, his feet doesn't always connect with his brain all the time. So he may see it, but he's not fast enough to put his foot down and react to it necessarily. So I don't think he's a fantastic candidate for tackle. Can he exist out there? Sure. Ezra Cleveland can exist out there. Austin Jackson can exist out there. But can Tristan Wirfs be elite? Yes, put that dude on the outside, limit his space to deal with people, and let him push guys around. Let him dig guys out of gap. If you got a center, Treader, you want to combo with people, cool. Put him in there and let him be Voltron for JC Treader. You know, let him move people out the way for him.
Yeah.
You know? So that's my whole Tristan Wirfs breakdown and analysis. He's not the best tackle in this draft.
So what about a guy like Becton? Because I hear a lot of interesting things about him one way or the another. Some people think that he is the best tackle, the highest ceiling on a tackle in this draft. Some people think that he can't pass block. I've heard that a lot when I've talked about Becton with this other Browns fans. They don't think that he can pass block. They think he's probably the worst of those top linemen in there. What are your thoughts on him?
Becton is he's a machine that was created in a lab, but they didn't upgrade like his football software, but he got all the like Terminator body skills and all that. So he's 365 pounds and he's not fat. Like just let that sink in for a minute. You know,
that's crazy.
Like he's not a big fat dude. If you watch him at the combine or whatever, like he's just built like an action figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, some people talking about, well, he has a weight problem. Like, will he get to the league and like lose some weight? Nah, because he travels well. Right. And his feet may look heavy, but he's 365 pounds, but his feet are heavy, but that's not stopping him from moving well. That's not stopping him from traveling well. So, you know, I don't think his pass blocking is necessarily bad. I don't think his run blocking is necessarily bad. It's just not very technical. You know, he doesn't have the nuanced technique. Like when you watch Jedrick Wills and he gets to kicking at those angles and he's parallel to his defender. He's hand fighting and all that. Becton doesn't really know how to do that. Becton just know that he's stronger than people, so he pushes guys. He'll just, hey, you're coming my way, I'm pushing you. But it works. That's the problem. It works. So when you run into these big, powerful men in the National Football League, you know, they have technique that can defeat you. That may be the only thing that Becton runs into, but that's what you got coaches for. Hey, Mekhi Becton, put your foot there and see what happens when you do this. You know, I don't want to compare him to the past big guys that move well, like Greg Little from Ole Miss or whatever. I don't want to like compare him to them, Greg Robinson, because those guys still had to learn how to win battles. They still learn how to they had to learn how to win fights. That's another problem with the boy Ezra Cleveland. I'm just hating on him again. That's the problem with him. He got solid feet, but he don't know how to win battles. He let guys in on his chest. He's not physical enough. He doesn't attack enough. Mekhi Becton attacks the wrong way, but he's smoking people while doing that. You see what I mean? So that's why his ceiling is the highest out of all these guys on this list. He's stronger than everybody. He doesn't move better than everybody, but relative to his weight, 360, his movement is fantastic. Now, can he lose 25 pounds and move better? Sure, but how much more better you need the guy to move? Watch the film. Watch him play versus Clemson. I thought Clemson just had like small offensive linemen. Like, why these D linemen for Clemson look so small? He's just big. But his movement is great. His outside zone blocking is great. Blocking at the next level. Y'all seen highlight tapes of him hitting safeties and linebackers. He ain't no big, fat, slow dude like Orlando Brown from Oklahoma, from that plays at Baltimore now. He's not a big, husky, slow dude. He's big and he's fast. So he just doesn't have technique. So it comes down to your coaching. And can he be better than Will? Sure, absolutely. I don't think he will, but you know, he can live without technique is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, if the Browns draft him, I think there might be a little bit of an easier fix for him. They could just lock him in a garage with Myles Garrett. He'll learn he has to have a little bit more technique.
Sure.
Trying to block Myles.
That's the best thing for him. The one thing I always say about, you know, the Cowboys, when they draft D lineman or whatever, like you got the best training simulator you could possibly buy. So sure, whatever tackle you end up drafting, put him up against Myles Garrett, and he's gonna have to learn on the fly. If I'm a Browns fan, because y'all pick at 10, the Jets pick at 11, I'm hoping that Wirfs is on the board because I think Thomas and Wills are going to be gone. But if you get Wirfs, the best thing about Wirfs is you can always put him at tackle just to see what's going to happen. I don't think good things are going to happen. But if good things don't happen, just put that dude at guard and you still have a top tier guard. And y'all could still use some guard play anyway. So I think he's the most safe pick in terms of y'all picking at 10. Because if you pick Becton, he may not learn technique. I think he will learn some technique to where he can live in the league, but he may not learn it. I think Wirfs' ceiling, I mean, his floor is a little higher. So y'all may need just a high floor guy right now.
I can see that. I can see that would do. So if you were drafting for the Browns at 10, you have Wirfs Becton available, you would probably go in the Wirfs direction because you know for a fact we can throw him out at tackle, see what happens, but you put him at guard, it's kind of a sure thing. I think I saw in your video, you were like, he's pretty much Quentin Nelson at guard.
I would say he's the best guard since Quentin Nelson. I wouldn't dare do Quentin Nelson like I wouldn't dare disrespect the damn demigod Super Saiyan Quentin Nelson like that. But he's the best guard prospect that we've had since Quentin Nelson. Let me be real clear about that before y'all draft Wirfs and be like, Voch Lombardi said he's Quentin Nelson. He's the best since.
Hey, that's gonna be interesting to see what the Browns are gonna do there, just from like a philosophical standpoint. Because to me, I feel like they might be leaning towards the kind of upside, not going towards something safe in that. I think they really want a tackle. And I think they really feel like they have some fixes at guard there that they can go to for lesser money than what they're going to pay for these tackles. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go there. I think they're going to have an option. They're going to have options there for the offensive line.